And welcome, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of You Get What You Get. I'm Rick Hampton with my great friends, McDougal and Tim Turner, coming to you on a Tuesday evening. Hope everybody's doing well. Tim kept his record going. Is this the 30th consecutive year you did not hear your name called in the NFL?
Uh, there was a Turner called, but it wasn't mine. So I was kind of taken aback by that. Uh, I blame Pete Rozelle has blackballed me from the grave. So
Wow.
The NFL draft is over. We got the NBA playoffs. My mighty Pistons are battling the New York Knicks as we speak. Hopefully they can win one and try to get it back here to Motown. But they're too young to win this series. But it's good to see them fighting like that, like they have been. So
while we're waiting on this to get started, we just saw the Milwaukee Bucks had a chance to beat the Indiana Pacers in overtime, but the Bucks threw the ball away, and Tyrese Halliburton hit a shot with 1.6 seconds left. And so Indiana won 119-118, and the season's over for the Bucks.
Wait a minute. Halliburton stole the ball?
No. What it was this guy for the Bucks. I forget his name now. He had two turnovers in the last couple of minutes. One of them, he just let the ball slip out of his hands. Then the Pacers got the ball back, and Halliburton drove. He was going like 1-on-5, and drove to the hoop and laid it up at 1.6 or something like that.
Yeah.
And to go up 119-118, and the Bucks had to try a Hail Mary that failed. So
Gotcha.
They lost in overtime. So season over for the gone fishing, as they say on TNT, for the Indiana Pacers.
And Milwaukee, man, they're gonna have a lot of questions because Damian Lillard tore his Achilles.
Achilles, right?
Yeah, which is a major injury, and especially for an older guy as Damian is. So we will see what they're going to do in the off season.
How old is he?
Damian's 30. Well, he's old for the NBA.
Right.
He's either 32 or 33. I can find that out for sure.
Well, they were just talking about how he deserves a better second act. I think he missed 40 some odd games with a blood clot this year, and then he had another injury that kept him out extended period of time last year. And then you see him, the minute somebody goes down running up court, nobody hits him. That's an Achilles right there. Something's ruptured. So,
he will be 35 in July. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I remember 35.
But you know what? These guys in the NBA today, I mean, they hanging around. Kevin Durant is still a prolific scorer at 37, I believe. Steph, I didn't realize Steph was 37, but Steph played, I think, all 4 years. He may have played until his junior year at Davidson. He's 36, 37. LeBron's 150. I mean, these guys are just their physical condition, and it's a testament to the way these guys take care of themselves now, and the way they travel so much easier now, and the technology. But even with that, you still
also better healthcare probably, and better trainers, and
then you have Zion, and
he's on a strict beignet diet.
wow.
I'm sticking up as a big guy. I'm sticking up for Zion, and I used to live in New Orleans, so brother, I get it, Zion. I get it. I'm the only one in your corner.
I'm not going to talk about nobody's weight.
Let's not talk about his weight. It's his girth.
Okay.
Yes. No.
Yeah, but a lot of people. I tell you, who's our friend Derek Gervin saw this coming, and I'm sure I've heard other people talk about it too. That when he was at Duke, Derek did not like the way he played because he dunked everything. He jumped out of the gym
Right.
every single time. And he's saying, young fella needs to learn. You don't have to do that every time. You got to pick your spots and everything.
Yeah.
And you got to land, right? So,
Right. Well, when he blew out that shoe and they had to have Nike's engineers come and find out, you know,
Yes.
what kind of force are you putting on a shoe that you're ripping it to shreds on the basketball?
Leave it out.
That's the laws of physics, man.
Yes.
Oh,
You know,
man.
and what Derek says the same thing I did. I said, unless they got a two-piece on the rim from Popeyes, he's not gonna get up there and do anything in the league. Because I said that's one cat I said will eat his way out of the league.
Yeah.
That's another. Oliver Miller was another that played at Arkansas.
Big O. It's a big O.
Those cats like that, you know, just they weren't big on conditioning, but I think a guy like Derrick Henry for the Ravens in the NFL, he spends almost $1 million on training. I think LeBron spends about $1 million on training and keeping his body fit. And those cats have been around for a long time. You have got to really, you know, be dedicated to your craft. And there are guys out there who do that, who, you know, they know how to eat right now. And they start that in college when they get nutritionists. But then, you know, there's some folks who just go off the wagon. Was it Moses
Didn't
Malone?
Zion lose? Didn't he lose some weight? But
He's lost a lot of weight. He has lost a whole lot of weight.
Right.
And I think that once after that rookie year, when everybody was really dogging him about being fat, it seems like when Barkley, he said Moses Malone got on him about, you know, being a big slob, and Charles slimmed down, relatively speaking. But he lost a lot of weight. So these cats, if you want any kind of longevity, you have to take care of yourself. And you think about the people that have been around for a while, they really took care of themselves unless they had some sort of like debilitating injury, like say a Penny Hardaway who just had bad knees, you know, something like that. Those kind of injuries will take you out. But you can always control the other stuff, conditioning and that kind of thing. Shaq was one of the rare ones who never did any kind of conditioning. He got himself in shape during the games.
I was going to say, and then when he got older is when he really started.
Yeah,
I mean,
falling off.
He was a physical specimen.
Right.
Did you see him play at LSU?
I did. Yeah, there's I saw him play one game there in Baton Rouge. We got these tickets. They were playing against Mississippi State. And now that one game at Baton Rouge turned me into against LSU forever and a day. Because we went down there to go see Chris Jackson play, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, because he was from Mississippi. And he was before Steph, he was the greatest shooter I'd ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And then we went down there to see LSU play against Mississippi State. And Chris Jackson was having a horrible game. And then from behind us in the stands, heard somebody say, "You stupid nigger."
Wow.
And I was like, and this dude was dressed in all purple and gold. This is one of his fans calling him this because they were losing Mississippi State. And I'm like, wow. So, you know, that just took me back. Just like, what's up with that foolishness?
Well, they're probably still doing that.
Oh, yeah. They were saved in that game by Stanley Roberts. Shaq had a very pedestrian game. It was Shaq, Stanley Roberts, and Chris Jackson. And they were like this other guy, Livingston, I think, was a guard. And I can't think of the fifth person that they had. But that was a team Dale Brown took to, I think, the Final Four in Philly. Yeah, but we went to see those guys.
Was the other guy Ricky Blanton?
Yes. So went down there to see them play in Baton Rouge, ever since that dude screamed those wonderful words at his own player, I have not been an LSU fan for nothing.
Man, absolutely. Hey, but we'll get back to some basketball because we had the NFL draft take place over the weekend, and it has become a spectacle over the years, over the recent years. It's now a 3-day event, and I think round one on ABC. I think round one.
Yeah, round one and round two, or both round 1 and 2 on ABC. It was Thursday night, Friday night. Well, 2 and 3 were Friday, and then 4 through 7 were on Saturday on I think ESPN. But yeah, man, it was Green Bay showed out. I understand it had like 600,000 people there for the 3 days. It rained the first day. It looked kind of sparse, but I was really surprised that they had it like that. Because I'm trying to think, and I'm forgetting where they said it's going to be. I think it's going to be held in Pittsburgh next year.
I mean,
So they just, yeah.
You will appreciate this. The NFL, they are master marketers.
Oh yeah.
They are. Now we got May here, so okay, you got the draft, everything leading up to the draft and the spectacle that is. Now next month you got mini camps coming in, which will be of interest. Then they'll have the schedule release, and they just blow that up now. And then June, I think, is another free agency period.
It's free agency, and then July is back to camp.
Yeah.
They got it year round.
Yeah.
So, were you happy with the Falcons selection?
Absolutely thrilled beyond measure with the Falcons selection. Everybody was dogging them for trading up into the first round. They're going to give up their first round and second round pick for next year to the Rams to trade back up to get the kid from Tennessee. I'm look for his name here. Come on now, Tim. You know better. Jalen. No, that's not Jalen Walker, but
Jalen Walker.
He was their first round pick. I'm thinking that the guy from Tennessee was James Pierce Jr.
Oh, Pierce, the pass rusher, 26.
Yeah, so they got two big pass rushers, and they said, man, they gave up too much. And then people, the folks in Atlanta are like, we really hadn't been hitting on the second round picks in the past couple of years, so that's no biggie. But the last time the Falcons gave up like a king's ransom to go get a kid, it was Julio Jones. So yeah, they got a Hall of Famer when they made that move the last time. So I'm not mad at them. They address some needs, and it looks good on paper. I mean, but the Falcons cannot have the sunshine on them too long before they do something just stupid, or somebody in the organization does something stupid. So,
What do you have a prediction of some sort?
Plenty of time.
Oh no! It's not so much a prediction. It's just, they were looking good. People were thinking they did a really good job, and yet, comes out Sunday. I'm reading a letter from the team about assistant coach's kid goes up and does that thing with Shador. So it's like,
I forgot he was with the Falcons. But save that, Tim, because we're gonna get to this whole Shador thing. But let's go through. We won't go through all the picks because everybody's seen them all now. We'll just start at the top with the Miami quarterback Cam Ward, who was the first overall pick of the draft, to the Tennessee Titans. Dude got a big arm, and talented guy. We'll see we'll see with all these guys, because I mean you do not know until they get out there and do it. But I can't guarantee you this: he's a better quarterback than Will Levis. I don't think I'm going out on a limb saying that.
No, sir. Not at all. I think Will has seen his last activity beyond clipboard holding, unless Ward gets injured. So he made some plays last year that just mystified you.
Brutal.
Brutal. It's like, what was this kid thinking, and how does who ties his shoes for him? That kind of stupid. So so you have to worry about
harsh.
Of Cam Ward, some of that arm. This is Just Bombs Productions. Thank you for letting us use this Just Bombs production. And the guy that came after him with the number 2 pick, you talk about moving up. When you see a guy, you go get him. And that's what the Jacksonville Jaguars did to draft Shador Sanders.
Right. And that was a really surprising move. And I think Jacksonville did a lot to try to put weapons around the quarterback. Because I'm thinking now, Trevor Lawrence will have zero excuses for why they didn't why they weren't better on offense. I think the Jags are gonna be really, really pleased with Travis Hunter. And I think Travis wanted. I think he's a Florida kid. I mean, he went to school here in the Atlanta area. but I think Florida was like a secondary home for him. And I think that Jacksonville really did a good job in getting him.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see how they're going to try to play him. Where he's going to get the majority of his snaps.
That's a good question.
Next year.
Yep.
With him. And Abdul Carter went third to the Giants. He asked the great Lawrence Taylor if he could wear his number 56.
And Lawrence said,
hell no.
Exactly.
Oh, really?
He said, you have not done anything, sir. You cannot wear my number.
Wow.
You will not wear that.
You remember, speaking of our friend Derek Gervin, whose jersey is retired at University of Texas. That's
right.
Yeah, you remember I asked Derek, would you let anybody wear it? No.
Right.
You go get
But then somebody did though. Somebody in one of the NFL teams, I can't think of who it is, but he's gonna allow them to wear his number. They talked to the guy and it's like, yeah, you can go ahead and wear my number. And I'm blanking on it right now. So I guess it's part of the gig to try to get somebody in there.
Well, here in Detroit with the Lions, 20 is the special number.
That's what it was.
Lem Barney, Billy Sims, Barry Sanders. And nobody's had that number since Barry.
I'm trying to think. Who was Steve McNair? Was he number one?
Steve. And
I'm trying to think. It was Tennessee. That's what it was.
Tennessee. He was
That's what it was.
At Tennessee.
No. What it was okay. Ward wants to wear number one. They asked Warren Moon if he could wear it.
And he said yes.
And Warren Moon said yes.
Yeah.
So that's what the deal was. Yeah.
Oh, for Cam Ward.
Yeah,
for Cam Ward. So yeah, he's gonna let him unretire his number, and so that's a very magnanimous thing for Warren to do.
I think I got some highlights of Carter.
Of Carter.
I mean, I can't you just see Lawrence Taylor saying that? Dude,
yes, I can. You've done nothing, sir.
I'm sure.
Ouch.
For Tim, I don't know if you probably hadn't seen this NFL Films highlight of Lawrence Taylor tree. Maybe you have. He sacks the quarterback. He said, "Man, y'all got to do better than this, man."
Is that the one we're playing like crazed dogs? Is that the one?
Is that what he said?
Because Lawrence, he was a character. It was a friend of mine, guy Don Sperling. He used to work at CNN when I was an intern there a billion years ago. And he went on to work with the NBA, and now he works in a production position with the New York Giants. The Giants came to Atlanta about a year or so ago, and it was him, Howard Cross, and the guy from your town played for the Giants, Ricky, because he spoke of you like you were a guy.
My buddy Banks,
Carl Banks had
does radio.
Went to a cigar bar with them one night, and they were talking about. I said, really? I said, you guys in New York, all you do, you just show up in a uniform and they act like y'all the greatest thing in the world. It's all hype, isn't it? It's all hype. LT is nowhere near as good as everybody makes him out to be. He's just a regular dude. And they're like, let me tell you something. You're talking about how Lawrence came and hung over one time in the defensive meeting. He was on the floor, curled up, like he was asleep, while the coach is up at the blackboard doing the game plan for the next week. So the coaches he said, LT, what am I talking about up here? What are we gonna do? Lawrence uncurled himself, walked up to the blackboard, and perfectly did the game plan for the next week.
Wow.
And went out there and dominated. So it's like, yeah, he's a different dude. He's a very different dude. So
the great Lawrence Taylor. So now, young fella, you're gonna have to go make your own way in the NFL. But really, and Trina and I were talking about before we came on there, the story of the weekend was Shedeur Sanders falling all the way to the 5th round. And there are all kind of assessments of why that happened. And Tim, start with you.
Yeah, what's your assessment, guys?
uh, about collusion and the man trying to hold a brother down. I was all there in that camp until I was looking at something. I was trying to find it just a second ago. All the things that Shador didn't do leading up to the draft. He didn't go to the Senior Bowl. He didn't go to the East-West Shrine game. He didn't work out. He didn't go to the combine. He had like about 2 or 3 other things that he didn't do leading up to the draft. And I'm thinking, okay, that might be questionable. And
he didn't have a DUI, did he? He didn't have any issues with the law.
Nothing like that.
No,
and that was
yeah.
But I'm thinking too, a lot of times, like these top draft picks, they'll at least go to the combine and just do measurables. They go to the combine, put on a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, stand on the scale, measure the height, and then say, see you later. Because they got nothing to prove. Y'all got videotape. You got cable. You see what I could do. We don't have to go through all of this like these other cats do.
So and that's why you think, because he didn't participate in all of those?
Well, that's the rationale that people are trying to say. It's like he didn't do anything to allow people to evaluate him beyond his season and the pro day in Colorado, which pro days are essentially scripted things. And, it's not like nothing's really like game action, but he didn't do a lot of the stuff that other folks did. And the idea was if he wasn't going to go in the first round, people did not want to deal with, and I kept hearing this word, they didn't want to deal with the circus surrounding him.
I heard that.
After that,
all that comes with him. I'm like,
yeah, is a backup. But who's to say there was going to be a circus? Who's to say he wasn't going to come in there and be an humble kid? Granted, Cleveland didn't do him any favors because they have now 5 quarterbacks. 5. And they drafted one before him, the kid from Oregon. So, I'm just trying to figure out where he fits in at all in any of this. So
maybe it's just to get him in the draft and then he'll be traded or something like that.
Here, let me play this because this told me something about this kid.
Okay. I don't even got Wi-Fi in here. Come on.
And I can't give anybody credit for this video because I don't know where it came from. But this is moments before he gets drafted. That's his famous his watch there. I'm not stopping it because of his watch, but
nice.
The watch and all of that is something that turned some people off that thought he was entitled and everything. But this was telling to me, and that's his buddy Travis Hunter right there.
Travis, how are you?
Is this fourth pick in the 2025 NFL Draft? The Cleveland Browns select Shador.
We lost the sound there.
That's good. We get the visual, so we know
but
that.
Here's what I like about this is this dude's happy to be drafted. He's not mad that he, you know what I mean? Would he have reacted any different if he'd have been the 3rd pick? I mean, that dude was happy to hear his name called. And I was talking to our friend Larry Lee the other day. He said he's in the NFL now. He's gonna have to go through the same process, no matter what round he was drafted in. And now, I would assume he has a chip on his shoulder. So you know what? Go show him. You should have been first or second overall pick, whatever it was. But the joy I saw him was the joy you see from all kids who get drafted. He did not look like an entitled kid to me there.
I mean, he comes from a famous dad and family. So, I mean, he's already. I mean, there are lots of kids. Who did you say the other day, Tim? Somebody else's son? Was it Manning or somebody? Or somebody was there helping to guide their child.
When Archie was directing Eli from the San Diego Chargers to the Giants, orchestrating that. Nobody said anything, but except he's looking out for his kid. But when Dion does it, it's like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah,
y'all
that's
don't
what he
get to tell us
said.
where
He's
you're
looking
going.
out for his kid.
Yeah.
So,
But the word you use, Ricky, is a couple of words I've heard around this, and these are just buzzwords for uppity, entitled, and arrogant. If I've heard those words used a lot.
Yeah.
maybe
And
confidence.
those are spoken by people who are upset because you can't control them or feel that you are beneath them in some way, irrespective of all the money that you have or the position, the things that you have. And people will still haven't learned that race is a social construct and there's nothing physiological about it. And people want to, give themselves air of superiority. And more times than not, there are about 70 million people who are not superior to me. And I'm not, and they made that decision last November. So I just want to
No, I'm with you on that, Tim. Yeah, actually,
So-
right. And a piece I read. I'm sorry to cut you off. Go on and
Go
finish.
ahead. No, that was just it. It was just the idea that there's always a taint of racism in just about everything, and there's no getting around it because this is straight up what this was. And you want to say it's either that or you don't want to say collusion because everybody had to be on it for 4 rounds. Everybody was in on it.
What got me is when the kid from Louisville went.
Yeah,
I'm like, whoa, come on now.
I've seen some highlights of his recently.
Yeah.
Some throws that he made, and I didn't want to play those clips because I thought that was like putting the thumb on the scale, trying to show the disparity. This is different from Lamar Jackson, where at least they traded back into the first round to get Lamar Jackson and say he couldn't play. And it seems like people are trying to say here this kid can't play, but it's you can't make people do you can't tell folks how to spend their money, and you can't make the front office people do anything any different. There are people up there who can safely say he's a great player, like Jerry Jones was talking about how great he is, and he should have been drafted higher. But you know what? We don't need a quarterback. So like I said, it's like that. It's like a retiring senator. They'll talk all they know is going out the door, but while they're still in the game, they won't say anything. A lot of people. Mahomes thought it was crazy. It's crazy or something to that effect. The NFL players are like, "What's the deal?" Because they've seen him play.
Because you see it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's easy to see this guy has talent. He has a knack for making plays. He's tough as nails.
But do you guys think too that, because the whole NFL draft news cycle and stories are all about Shedeur. And so I don't know if other players got the attention that he did simply because he was not selected. I think, it was like, okay, 1 and 2, Travis Hunter, we expect that. But then after that, it really, all you heard after that was, Shedeur.
Right. I was with some of my relatives in Kentucky this past weekend, and they were Alabama. People died in the wool, roll tide, crimson tide folks, where they got crimson tide cars and my cousin Jen, she has a houndstooth coach bag, that kind of stuff. They just get to that vibe. But they were saying, I would have taken Shedeur Sanders over Milroe because Milroe got drafted before he did.
Milroe,
they could not see him.
He's a running back, if anything. Man.
Yeah, right.
He's an option quarterback.
Yeah, Alabama's quarterback.
You talk about them Alabama fans, and the diehards, when you see the roll of toilet paper, Tide, and then the shotgun, and then the shotgun rack. That's the diehard Alabama fan right there.
But they were like, Sanders was much better than Milroe. They wish they'd had Shedeur this past year. Is how they were feeling about it.
Oh my goodness.
So when you got people like that who say, "Yeah, that's wrong," and people and you can see as the draft went along, folks are taking it personal. My son called me, hyperventilating, saying this is just wrong. This is just wrong. It's like, hey. I said, I'm not gonna lie to you and say it's any different. Last time I talked to him off the ledge, I was wrong. When he called me and asked me, he said, Dad, what's happening? And I said, son, there is no way. Both of my sons called me that day. Son, there is no way the Falcons blow a 25-point lead in the Super Bowl. They've not trusted my judgment since. So,
but you know what,
Not
guys?
you.
Think about this, Tree and Tim. After we saw what happened in November, I mean, and anytime I watch some of these shows, they talk about all the issues here. I am waiting for somebody to say, we live in a racist ass country where these folks did not want a black woman for president. In my mind, that is clearly what happened.
They've been saying it. People have been saying it.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard them on TV.
I haven't.
I hadn't heard them on MSNBC. Not that I want to take this to politics, but all I hear is, well, the Democrats need to do this, that, and that. How about getting some of these racist SOBs to look at reality and see you have an incompetent man and don't take him over a more capable woman, black woman.
Tim, you want to jump in?
I was gonna buy into that 100% until I talked to. There's some white ladies that I know who just said these are older women now, older, and they were like, I just don't think a woman can run a country. And they said that. I was like, you don't think a woman? You're a woman. You don't think a woman can run a country? I'm like, I think Germany has had women running countries. England's had women running countries. Australia, well, not Australia, but New Zealand. There's some that did a pretty good job on their own. You know, those places didn't fall off the earth. But when a woman, got to the top of government, I was taken aback by a woman who would say, I don't think a woman could run a government. And that just,
I always think too, when they say that too, I was like, so if your mother was running for president, you would be like, nah, she can't handle this. You would be, no, Mom, I don't think so. Or sister, you don't think? I'm like, you wouldn't want that. You wouldn't want your family member person to. Yeah,
that's crazy. That's the thing. These leagues.
We've lost Tim.
Lost Ricky.
No, he's there.
Say it again, Tim.
No, we lost. Everybody froze. Ricky, you froze. Tree, you froze. Now we're all back. Now.
Am I back? Am I back?
Yes. Yeah. This just getting to the idea that.
I'm just gonna say my point is,
Suspense.
if that could happen in November, this could certainly happen in April. Is my point, and I know we're not surprised. I mean, you talked about Warren Moon a few minutes ago. He had to go to Canada to fight.
Yes.
Right. So
he had to go to Canada and prove himself in Canada before he was able to come back home. And that's where somebody made a mention of that, saying Shedeur should not, say, I'll check y'all later. I'll go to the CFL and then show out up there, then I'll come back. But that I understand right now as it is, the effect of this is I think his jersey right now is the number one selling jersey in the NFL. So kudos for that.
Wow.
I think I saw somewhere they said his jersey was the number one selling jersey right now.
Wow.
So people will respond to negative when there's a negative thing about it. But what the deal was, I think also too, he wasn't promoted like he should have been promoted before the draft. I think he got bad advice from his former agent. His former agent really gave him some bad, obviously gave him some bad advice.
That was you're talking about his pop, right?
And you know his former agent is, right?
His dad.
Yeah, he fired his dad. He's not Drew Rosenhaus.
What do you think he should have done? You think he should have thrown Tim? You think he should have?
No. Really, I think he should have done something to let people see what he was about. He should have gone to the Senior Bowl or something, and then because people have done that, gone to the Senior Bowl, gone through the paces during the week, and then leave and not play in the game. Folks do stuff like that. They just, I'm gonna let you see what I'm gonna look like, and these large contingencies come to these the pro days of these different places to see what people look like. And he said he had a great pro day. I saw it on television. But it's just scripted throws, and if you're throwing out there to Travis Hunter or somebody, you really aren't going to throw any bad passes. So these guys are going to catch everything. But if everybody in the NFL who sent somebody to Boulder came away saying he's no better than the 5th round pick, there's something wrong with that.
Right. Hey, speaking of that, I mean, what happened to him, I think, is disgusting. Falcons defense coordinator Jeff, is it Ulbrich, Tim?
Ulrich,
the son of Falcons defense coordinator Jeff Ulbrich, admitted to prank calling Shadur Sanders during the NFL draft. And he later apologized on Instagram to Shadur. But man, that's just that's disgusting.
Yes, very much
it is.
So.
But and I saw I heard on radio today here in Atlanta, and some of these guys are saying, and that's what I want people to stop calling it a prank. It wasn't a prank. It was something maliciously done. It was done with the intent to hurt this kid.
Yeah.
So, it was like, these guys are saying, at some point we have to move on from this. Really? Do we? Do we have to move on from this?
Did they? Really? Did they say that? Because
Yes.
if it was the other way around, they would not have been moving on.
Oh, absolutely not.
This would be like scorched earth type stuff. And I was disappointed in that these folks would be so easily dismissed. They're saying, but it did say something that's like, this couldn't have been this kid, and the guy was making a supposition about the kid. It's like, I would not make any kind of generalization like that. They were saying, this wasn't the first time he's done something stupid, right? You just don't come out the box with something this dumb, and it's like they could just see what the dad has had some problems with him growing up or whatever it was. It's like, but I'm like, that's an odd thing to say, but
Tim sounds like somebody.
It could be just a one.
Tim sounds like somebody that's raised two young men.
Isn't he 21? So he wasn't like a kid, right? He's 21.
No, he's not. But that's the characterization is trying to get. It's like he's a kid, and it's like no,
he's a grown ass man.
My thing is, but and he is a man. But I rarely, if ever, agree with Stephen A. Smith on anything because it's just hyperbole and blather. But
what did he say?
He's like, here's a kid that needed to have his A beat. He needed to have his butt with old school justice. He said he needed to be beat. He's like, because you put your dad's job, your family's livelihood in jeopardy doing something really stupid, which he did. Yeah. And you see this? That's the leash his dad is on this year with the Falcons, right there.
Now do you think
they're gonna have to
should the NFL step in on this at any point? Any kind
they're
of
going
fine?
to. The Falcons already said nothing's going to happen to the dad. They already said that. Nothing because he didn't do anything beyond not protecting that iPad, which has sensitive information on it.
Yeah.
Which gave me flashbacks again to that Super Bowl because on the Tuesday before the Super Bowl, Kyle Shanahan lost his iPad somewhere and it had to be recovered. I'm thinking by the time the Patriots, copied all the plays off of it, they were able to find it again. But but that was the first time somebody's iPad went missing. So But this was like this. It was on the table there in the house, and the kid looked at it and found the information. And that's you had to do a search on it. Number one, because the Falcons were not in the market for a quarterback. Why would that number be readily out there for him to look at?
And they recorded themselves. That was another thing.
Yeah, that was the thing. The call they showed it, and it just adds another layer to the Falcons Saints rivalry because they pretended to be the Saints general manager. They drafted him.
But I like what you said. That's malicious, man. That was meant to be hurtful. A kid, he's disappointed, and you just gonna throw salt into the wound. So, well, that's any final thoughts on that? I mean, hey, think about it. It's dominated the news. It's dominated most of the show. We spent about 20 minutes on it, which I think it deserves that level of conversation.
It does, but and then tangentially, the reason they've been talking about him going to the Saints is because the Saints quarterback has a jacked up arm. But he's trying to get some divine intervention on that.
Yeah, I got
that.
That verse has been blessing me. But let me tell you, you guys know I like to tell you what God has done and what God is going to do, but I also like to tell you what God is doing right now, okay? And so, yes, I have to say this. I hate that I have to say this, but I have to say this. Yes, I have a shoulder injury, despite what ESPN says, and what some lady on a podcast might think. Okay, I have an MRI report to prove it. The team knows about it. We've been in constant communication. There's nothing wrong. We're figuring it out, and we're going to go forward with that. Is that okay? And
well, most people report their stuff on, today's athlete. This is news out on Instagram or Facebook or his own website. He did it in church. That's different.
Yeah. But he was talking about these scriptures that sustained him through all this. He's being persecuted, and he talks about that. And it was a really good message going on with that. But the idea is that it was even the possibility that the Saints would need a quarterback because Derek Carr right there had a bad arm, and he was hurt a lot last year. So, of course, he would fall for it because he knows what the Saints need.
It sounds like he could be a pretty good minister one day.
Yeah.
But it's his backup plan.
Yeah.
It better be.
You never know. Kudos to
Before we leave the draft, and
yes.
Drum roll, with the 41st pick of the NFL draft, the Baltimore Ravens took the only HBCU player, offensive lineman Carson Vincent from Alabama A&M. Only one HBCU player was taken in the draft. So as usual, they call it, what is it, the 8th round. That's when all those free agents, get those phone calls on Sunday, and they get to pick which team they want to go to. So hats off to him, and maybe we'll do a better job because I don't think the last couple of years there were a lot of HBCU players taken. So at least one was taken this year, and the kid from A&M. So good.
Not surprising that it would be Baltimore because Ozzie Newsome is still in that room and still has a big influence, and he's still aware. I heard Brad Holmes talk about it here the other day. I don't know if you guys saw the Lions. I think on the second or third day they wore North Carolina A&T. Everybody in the war room had on North Carolina A&T jerseys.
Wow.
With Holmes number 95, he played there, and he was talking about the HBCU athletes and football players, and he was saying, "Man, I would love to draft some, but we got to find some." And it's just, but the pickings are slim. Is essentially what he was saying. And we talked about it before. The recruiting is so hard, and it's even harder now, Tree, because if you get a guy that has a good year, he's going to move on and go to a D1 school, right? So he's not going to spend his time at A&T. So
No.
it's going to be even hard. I mean, you got no better example than Shador and Travis Hunter.
Yeah, they at least gave Jackson State 2 years.
Yeah, they went to Jackson State, right? Yeah, so.
But that leap isn't an easy one to make. Well,
yeah, so
the draft is passing, but now we're going to, I guess, delve into the NBA, and it's a tight one, Rick. 81-81, Knicks and Pistons. Last I looked,
the Pistons were up 9 or 10. They just can't hold on. Fourth quarter comes and
it's early in the Boston and Orlando series. We're tied at 41 in the second quarter. So the Celtics are up 3-1. So I'm pretty much thinking it'll be over in Orlando because they just don't have the firepower the Celtics do.
Right.
And you guys really can't go down 3. You're down 3-1, and that's tough to come back from. I was looking at I think there's a percentage note on here somewhere where
there is.
teams go ahead. What was that?
No, go ahead. No, you did share some information, but go ahead.
No, it's like in teams that are up 3-1 win the series 95% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a 5% chance, huh?
And only a few teams you said had ever come back.
Right.
Pistons have had at least 8-point leads in going into the fourth quarter of every game, and only won one. Although Hardaway got fouled at the end of that game the other day.
That was a foul.
It never. The NBA said it was a foul. I mean, and why you telling us now, dude?
Well, that's the thing about it. That just only makes it worse that they say, we missed the call.
Yeah, we missed it.
Then in a quarter, get you a cup of coffee. I mean, they're just young. They make young mistakes, and they're a little shorthanded. So, hey, and it really doesn't matter because it's Boston and Cleveland.
Yeah, true.
That's going to be but it's been fun watching them. I mean, credit to J.B. Bickerstaff and Trajan Langdon, two brothers turned this franchise around. They won 14 games last year. They won 45 games this year. They're giving the Knicks all they want, 51-win team. But kudos to the Pistons, win or lose tonight. And you're right, Orlando, they just another good young team. But Boston is really good. And what the Cavaliers did to Cleveland the other night.
You mean to Miami?
I mean to Miami.
Yeah.
I think I looked at one time. It was 73-27 or something.
It was in the third quarter, but at halftime they almost had 100, which was just to me unheard of. It was going like this. It's like they gave up.
It's a massacre.
You know anybody quit. But what it lost by 49 points, I think, is what the final was. So when it's the worst.
They didn't ease up. They didn't even ease up. Nope.
No, they didn't. It's like, we're gonna make you know who we are. So it was like historic in that sweep. Is the worst series loss in NBA history, and that's something that they're gonna have to wear. The upshot that could have been the Hawks. As the Hawks won 2 weeks ago, that Friday night game, they'd have been playing Cleveland and getting embarrassed. So,
and we got it. We talked earlier. I don't know if I think we talked on air about this. Indiana put Milwaukee out of its misery,
right?
119, 118, and we talked about Damian Lillard towards Achilles. He's gonna have to fight through that at age 35 when they take the floor next year. So you could have Giannis on the trade block and Kevin Durant on the trade block.
Well, I was thinking about Antetokounmpo. Giannis decided it's like, I want to go somewhere where I can win. They won once in Milwaukee. They just don't have the folks otherwise around him. I mean,
around him.
Yeah, they need. I don't know if this super team type stuff works if you don't have that right mix. Because I'm going, the Lakers are down. What are they down? 3-1 as well.
3-1. They got two guys. I mean,
yeah, they got two superstars in Luka and LeBron.
And he played their starters the entire fourth quarter. No, it was the entire second half of the night. And LeBron was gassed by the end of the game.
And what's Magic dogged them on that too, saying, you know, it's not wise to play those guys as hard as they play them. Hold up, you got a visitor.
I know.
Yeah, that's Kobe.
Yes, the parents.
My son and his family went out of town. They left me the dog. Leave me the grandkids and take the dog.
You got grand dogs.
Yeah. Kobe goes back tonight. That's my guy, though. He's been my road dog the last couple of weeks. Think about Golden State.
Yeah. Jimmy Butler's making a difference, though, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
They've been an entirely different team since they got Jimmy over there. And these young teams, guys, you know, Houston was the number 2 overall seed. But just like the Pistons, they keep making these young mistakes. And a veteran team with a guy like Draymond Green and Butler and of course Steph, you can't do that against those guys. They're going to beat you. So the West is going to get really interesting because Oklahoma City just sitting waiting on somebody.
Right. And, I mean, Memphis had no resistance. Once Ja got hurt, Morant, it was all she wrote because he was their dog the whole time. And you know what's going to happen there in Memphis? They fired their coach just before the season was over, and the same with the wasn't Boston. I'm thinking who was fired their coach before the playoffs. Denver fired their coach.
Who's in a great series with the Clippers.
With the Clippers, and they play later tonight.
I don't know if you guys notice it, but the level of, I mean, you really see that skill level go up in the playoffs. You can really tell an NBA playoff game from
absolutely.
It's a lot more violent, a lot more physical.
Like I was going to say, very physical. And the referees are just letting them play, right?
Yeah.
So
yes. Absolutely.
I don't think anybody's going to get to 100 tonight. I don't know what the score is now, but
it was
80. Nobody's going. 81. I got 81, and maybe something different.
I think they've scored since then. It's 87, 85.
87 was somebody first team to 100 wins this game.
We all have different scores because I got it tied exactly at 87 with 7 minutes to go. Tied at 87.
I got 87.
Yeah.
So, did we get to all the series?
I think we got missed one. Houston, we got Houston Golden State, and the Lakers in Minnesota. We kind of just touched on, and with Magic chided JJ Redick for playing the guys the way he played them. Yeah. The Knicks Pistons. I mean, you guys.
Sorry, JJ Redick did what? I'm sorry, back up. What?
He played the old heads, Luka and LeBron too long. He wore them out. Because they said you could see that LeBron had nothing left in the fourth quarter.
He was gas. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta get these guys.
And see, tomorrow night the Rockets are playing at home, and it got real chippy in the game they played last night. So we're gonna see what happens. They're playing Steph really close and real physical. They're essentially beating them up where he can't get free.
Yeah.
But he has help out there, which he didn't have earlier in the season.
He'll find a way. He's a tremendous player. I never thought he would have the impact on the game that he's had. So kudos to us.
I'm with you on that. I'm really surprised on that. But I've been really surprised with Cleveland. I hadn't watched a lot of them play this year. And the Hawks just gave him a really big boost on the bench when they traded Hunter to them. Yeah. And so he's been really good with them for the team.
Who did that get from
Spider is playing really well. They gave him like 3 players. 2 of them are really good that they put in the rotation quickly, which it doesn't seem as uneven as I thought it was going to be, because those guys came in and re-energized, and pretty much gave them the push they needed even to make the play-in series. So I'm not mad at them for making that decision, but nonetheless, they did fire their GM at the end of the year. The Hawks did, so because they haven't done a whole lot to put really good players around Trae Young.
I'm looking at the pistol scores all tied up.
Yeah.
Sark Thompson, outstanding young player, only in his second year, has 20 points, but he's 3 of 9 from the free throw line. I mean, little stuff like that is how they.
3 of 9.
And he's a good free throw shooter. But hey, well, let's get out of here so I can go cheer my guys on.
Oh no, I'm distracted by watching. I'm sorry.
There's only one more NBA note. You got Stephon Castle of the Spurs won the Rookie of the Year award tonight.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't have. I think the kid in Atlanta, Ricochet, should have, but that's just me, my bias. Both they had a guy who should have been the Defensive Player of the Year and the Rookie of the Year, but that's how they do it over here.
And Ricochet took off after Christmas, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He did.
Once he figured, this is how they do it over here. A good young player.
This is how we do it.
And the Spurs that's back-to-back Rookie of the Year. They had Wembanyama last year.
Yeah.
And this guy this year.
This is the first time they had Wembanyama and this cat, the Castle, and then the last time this happened was, I think they said the Timberwolves, when they had Karl Anthony Towns, and I forget the player that was the year before him. So it's rare to shit these back-to-back. That means that number one, you stink twice. Did you have really good ball players? But you got Rookies of the Year back-to-back. But
I don't know who that is.
That's off to the Spurs. They don't have something good.
Next time we're on the air.
The Spurs, once they get people healthy, if they get Aaron Fox and Wembanyama and Castle out there playing together, they got a little nucleus there in San Antonio. I hope Pop is going to be back to coach, because I understand he had like a medical emergency a couple of weeks ago at a restaurant. So we're hoping that he's recovering, can come back and coach the Spurs. So also with Greg Popovich over there.
Yeah.
Well, I hope he comes on back. And the thing we didn't talk about that was also in the news a lot.
Fashion?
No, Bill Belichick.
What was that?
Interview. I think he did an interview.
We're not going to talk about that.
We're saving that?
Yeah.
No, don't say no. That's the meme, because they asked a question and his girlfriend interrupts the interview and says,
so
we're not going to talk
answer
about that.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, we're not going to answer that.
Yeah.
So there's several memes out there already.
Shannon Sharp's taking a
What's
leave.
that?
Shannon Sharp taking the lead.
Of absence.
Also in football.
I mean, is he
spend
more
more time
famous now than during his football career? For his social.
Oh, absolutely.
And I was just up
That
at
Club Shay Shay
Liquorland.
just took him. He was just in Savannah a couple of weeks ago, right, Tree?
Yeah, I was gonna say I was up in he was up at Liquorland, signing, I guess, bottles of his whatever he's selling.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in there and later, and they had a big old poster of him. It was like a cutout of him up high with a glass and laid
Did his
back.
brother play in Savannah State too?
I don't know about his brother.
No, his brother played in South Carolina.
No.
Brother played in
South Carolina. That's right.
South
Carolina.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna get out of here, guys, and we'll be back next Tuesday for my great friends Tree McDougal and Tim Turner. I'm Rick Hampton.
All right. Be kind, everybody.